Okay, let's move on. You want to take this one?
Yes, someone at BlizzCon asked about the end boss for WoD, but I'm not sure if we can trust that answer. Heads up, no, we can't. Who do you expect it to be?
Yeah. The reason why you shouldn't believe that answer because the guy that asked the question was a real tool about it. He was so incredibly rude.
I know.
Were you in that line, by the way? Or were you in the audience, or?
I was in a seat very close to him, and sometimes people, when they step up to the microphone, I cringe so hard. And not just that, but people in the seats around me do the same thing. They're like as soon as someone, prefaces what they say with like, blah, blah, blah from this server, I'm representing shamans or whatever. And people are just like, oh my God.
Just ask the question, you idiot.
And same situation here. I think the guy, what did he say? Like he said, like I think he this is like an exact quote, actually not an exact quote, but this is the loose quote. He said like, yeah, so you guys said in Mr. Pandaria like derp, gosh, this is the main antagonist, derp. And yeah, and then I think it was Tom Chilton just said, yeah, so it's Grommash. Like
Yeah.
that was it. No one else said anything.
And he was like,
Um,
what? He's like,
yeah.
didn't you want to know? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. There's no way. I mean, even Chris Metzen like later on said, we're not gonna have like we understand you guys don't want to see another orc like very similar to Garrosh as like the main antagonist. He said you guys, if you're in the lore, you would probably know who it is. But yeah, I can personally guarantee it's just not going to be one of these like warlords. Like the warlords are going to be the antagonists for patch cycles, but the main antagonist would be someone like Nor's Dormu or Kairos Dormu.
Yeah.
Like someone who has been controlling events above someone like say Gul'dan. It's going to be a higher power, I guess.
Definitely, yeah. If I had to make a bet, I would say at this point Kairos Dormu or something like a curveball that you didn't expect, like a corrupted Iron Horde Velen, for example, or one of the Ogre Warlords that we haven't met yet, something along
Yeah.
that direction. But what we know from now, don't trust Gromar's Hellscream as an end boss. I can't believe that.
Theory. Here we go.
Mm.
And the ogre, because there's going to be like at least two ogre main capitals. You got the raid. I think it's like High Mall or something like that. But then you've also got Farallon, which is going to be at a future patch, and that's another ogre capital, right?
Is it?
That's according to the map thing. It is, yeah. Like
Okay.
there's no landscape. It's just got like the ogre capital. I forget what its name is. So my theory is that the main or one of the main antagonists is going to be a big ogre who's going to have his story develop as the expansion rolls out, and then the next expansion after this one, ogres is a playable race, right?
Ogres
Because
is a playable race.
we have seen the story develop over warlords. Now it's relevant that we were introduced ogres because before now we've only had like new races introduced with an expansion. So Pendos on Pandaria, we got goblins and worgins in the Cataclysm expansion, but we've never had their story develop until the point where we can play as them. Because
Yeah.
right now, unless they want to just say, okay, so let's see, ogres in the past like us more than in present day, and also they look cooler. So let's make them a playable race. Like that's just kind of silly. But if they expand their story and have some kind of a really cool antagonist or protagonist, maybe, then playable race totally. Or
Right.
and Rexar as well. Let's go with Rexar.
Rexar, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, I can see it happen, especially because these ogres are much smarter, they said, than our ogres, and they're much more civilized. So I could see it happen, like the next expansion, that the introduction screen with, in Warlords of Draenor, the Dark Portal turned red. Now the ogres join the Horde, join the Alliance. Maybe they become a neutral race again. Oh man,
Uh,
can you imagine neutral ogres just bashing each other with clubs?
Totally.
Awesome.
Maybe ogres could like revolt in this expansion because they've always been the underdog. They've always been like the whipping boys to Grons, right? Maybe in this expansion they could get their shit together and actually like take the initiative and become this huge awesome race, and maybe female ogres could fly from their secret moon base and land, and we could play as those as well.
Where do female ogres come from? The moon. Oh, by the way, confirmed right now, a loon is actually an ogre. Done. Night Elf's been worshipping ogres for millennia.
Yep, and then all the Night Elves had amnesia because they found out one time, and now it's all a surprise to them.
Yeah, complete surprise. And Rexar, let's just ask this question then. What characters that you know from the story would you like to see in Warlords of Draenor? Because we have a Rexar, of course, origin story of Rexar. Please, origin story. But what else do you want to see?
Oh, wow, I don't even have any notes for this. Let's see.
It's a curveball right now, out of the blue.
Yeah, characters I want to see. Apart from the ones that have already been introduced, do you mean over the course of the expansion, new characters introduced?
Yeah, or orcs that you know from Rise of the Horde, or characters that have died along the way, or been used and just are gone right now. I mean, they're all duplicates on Draenor now. Are there any specific ones that you'd like to see?
Well, I mean, they did mention that Drekthar is going to be blind over the course of the expansion, or something like that. He was a pretty cool character. He was, and what was the name of Duratan's lady friend?
Oh, lady friend. That's Draka.
Draka. I wouldn't mind seeing Draka. She's a cool character. And yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing the whole Duratan and Orgrim friendship kind of storyline evolve. I think they're going to do that anyway.
Yeah, they've confirmed that. Yeah, they said that Orgrim didn't make it the cut into the 7 warlords, but he is going to be part of it, and Duratan's going to feel betrayed by him, which is actually surprising since our Orgrim just sticked with the Horde for all eternity, and Duratan didn't have a problem with it. It's going to be interesting to see what that's all about.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that it's going to be like the relationship is going to be strained in this, because in the novel they were just chums, but in the game it's going to be different. Because doesn't Orgrim like take out like half of Blackhand's forces?
In our timeline, Orgrim at some point Duratan was banished from the Horde, right? It's unsure, at least I'm unsure what moment that was, but he was banished, and he found out about Gul'dan, the Shadow Council, all his evil plans, and he told Orgrim. After that he was assassinated, which caused Thrall to become an orphan raised by the humans, and Orgrim picked it up and he tortured Corona, and she told him where the Shadow Council was, who they were, and he killed nearly all of them, except of course for the main guy, Gul'dan, together with Cho'Gall. Which I don't understand. Why didn't he kill Gul'dan? Fool. Just a fool he was.
Maybe Gul'dan, I don't know. Yeah, maybe he's just giving him some treats and things. And
well, he gave him Death Knights, but I mean, he already had so many forces, and this is the guy that betrayed the entire race. Why do you leave him alive? Why?
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, that's the question, and one of the people that I really hope to see is Bruxigar in the story.
Oh yeah, totally.
Oh man, can't wait. But they haven't confirmed it yet, so we'll have to wait and see if they don't forget about him.
Does he not have his legendary axe in Draenor?
No, he shouldn't have it yet. No, he followed the Horde to Azeroth, and this was somewhere after Warcraft 3, where he got sucked back into time 10,000 years, and there his axe was made, and then he immediately died. So his axe was taken with them back to the future and given to his niece Fura, which might be a good female character to put into the story, actually.
Yeah, what if they have her go forward and give him back the axe? That could work. Because right now, isn't Broxigar just a normal orc that happened to get sucked back in time?
Yeah.
So wouldn't on Draenor be he's just a normal orc? Like, unless someone tells him about all the things he does, or someone gives him an axe hint, then I don't really see how he could be relevant. Like, he hasn't really done anything.
Well, it's similar to, that's also what they said. How do circumstances form an individual? Is Duratan really a noble dude, or did circumstances turn him into a noble dude? And that's the same for Broxigar. I mean, if you put him into a situation where it's a life or death situation, where he has to make the choice, do I sacrifice myself, or do I go my own road? That's the choices that we make define who we are in every story. So that could really be an epic moment where he jumps in front of Thrall and saves his life, or he sacrifices himself for the greater good again. I mean, you can take that any way that you want.
Totally. Um, there is no chance that Illidan is going to show up in this expansion, is there?
There is a chance, not Ironhorde Illidan, because he should be imprisoned still in on Ironhorde Azeroth, but our Illidan is speculated to be somewhere in the Twisting Nether. And if you go by the idea that the Twisting Nether links beyond time, that there's only one Burning Legion, he could pop up, but I highly doubt it. Otherwise, that's something you present, right? This is Illidan, he's going to be back. That's not something you keep a secret, at least.
Oh, unless they want to evolve the story and make it a surprise.
Surprise!
Yeah.
Damn,
but
if
I guess
only I bought the expansion.
I think they like to save most of their surprises for like something like BlizzCon, because a lot of data mining happens, and if Illidan shows up, it's going to be like, surprise, guys, yay. Lame. Yeah, I guess they should probably save it for future expansion. Like Chris Messon, like every BlizzCon now has been like, Illidan's coming. He's gonna be back in the game soon. He hasn't showed up back in the game. Like he's been saying that since what, like Wrath, and I don't know.
Yeah,
I
we
guess
want to do this, man. I just need to find the right moment. The right moment has been 5 times already. What are you waiting for? The same with Valyria and Tyrellian. They put it as a freaking loading tip, and they still don't put him into the game.
I can't believe that. Like they specifically said the next expansion is going to be Illyria and Tyrellian, and then they completely changed their mind. Like at what point did they say, okay, let's change our idea for the expansion to something completely different? It's going a whole new direction, and not remove the loading screen tip. Like who's on the team doing this?
They're just mean, man. They're lying to us, and they've done it before. I mean, you can't always trust what they tell you.
Yeah. Well, it's because it's a huge company and there's a lot of people on board. It's like a lot of differing opinions. So, like, I always bear that in mind every time I look at like a BlizzCon thing. It's like these guys are basically like PR people. Like they're really good at addressing questions and being on stage and being fun. But in terms of them being like the go-to people for absolutely all consistencies and all the logic in the universe and the actual the set things that are going to happen in the game, which can change at any point because based on maybe something just doesn't feel right or something doesn't work in the story or the gameplay wise it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So it's always changing. Like I always look back on, and I know people say this is fake and everything, but I always look back on the original timeline where they had the expansion sets that they originally had. They had Vanilla, they had Burning Crusade, they had Wrath, and that was all set. Then they had an Elemental type expansion where they had like Deep Home and Firelands and all that. That was supposed to be an expansion on itself. Then after that, you had the South Seas expansion where you have Kultiris and Zandalar. After that, you have the Burning Legion. Now, I remember seeing this way back in the day and thinking, well, this looks legit. Thing is, I think that was legit, but they've changed the game over the course of so many years that they're adapting now. They're inventing new stories, and they've kind of thrown away that old guideline. So, yeah.
And I mean, that story isn't going anywhere just because we're going back in time. But indeed, that list, I don't think you can hold it up and say, okay, now we're supposed to go to the South Sea, and that's what they're actually going to do.
Yeah, so like maybe at the time they didn't know Illidan was going to come back, and like they want to do it, but maybe they were going to do it a bunch of times, but they just thought maybe it's not the right time to do this. They were going to put Rexar in patch 5.3 in the what do you call it, the escalation patch, fighting in the Barrens, but they said we just don't have enough time to do this. They really want to do this. They want to introduce him before Warlords comes out because they're obviously going to have Rexar in the campaign there, but they just didn't have time to do it. So I think they want to put Illidan back in, but they just don't know how anymore, and this has made it way more difficult to do it.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and it's such a shame that they didn't place Rexar in the Barrens, and also the part where they wanted to put Dalaran above Orgrimmar and let it fight with you. That would have been so epic, man. I
know. I mean, why didn't they just do, like they said it would have been very CPU intensive. Why didn't they just do this where they could like have Dalaran floating above us, right? But they clear out the interior so that it's just a paper mache Dalaran, so that it's just like just some text just floating in the sky, not a whole city, and just have that there. I mean, wouldn't that just look nice? And like you don't have to go up there and look at it because obviously there wouldn't be anything there. But I mean, I'm not into game design, so I can't really speak from that perspective. But it would have been cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and overall 5.3 could have been a lot better. I mean, the Horde story was pretty damn awesome in my opinion. I know a lot of people didn't like the whole Garrosh is evil now and we need to fight him, but compared to what the Alliance got with the robot cat, I just can't get over it, man.
Oh yeah, yeah. I did that patch on the PTR and on Horde, and I'm like, this is so cool. Like we're marching from Durotar like into Orgrimmar. This is so cool. I did Alliance, and they're like, go collect some things, go kill some
Yeah.
stuff, some things. Like, what the fuck is this? What
Yeah.
was that epic cinematic thing? Like, what happened to the Thrall storyline? Like, why can't at the very least can't they just take the cheesy way out and transform us like in Canvas of Time so that we look like Horde? Just do that because I want to see this. It's such a waste.
Exactly, and that would have been the minimal thing, but it would have been so cool. And it also made it more interesting for the Alliance to actually join the Horde in the siege, because just with a robot cat and a couple of documents, and now you're actually helping the Horde. Why the hell are we helping the Horde? What's going on here?
It's ridiculous. Could we talk about Kairos and Nosdormu and the Infinite Dragonflight for a second?
We can talk about anything. Go for it.
Possibly the end boss. Because basically how it works, Kairos is the one responsible for getting Garrosh back to this era. We don't know why yet. So that's going to be a major aspect of the expansion. Nosdormu, who we killed in the future, who has already turned into the evil Infinite Dragonflight leader. Now, Nosdormu is still around. He doesn't have any powers, which kind of makes it difficult for him to turn into an Infinite Dragonflight. But, they could always invent a way to make him get the powers back. Maybe he could go crazy like Malgos or Neltharion and do that. So I don't think Kairos at the moment has enough story development to warrant being the evilest end boss. Nosdormu is very interesting though, and they could potentially do something with that. The Infinite Dragonflight hasn't yet come up in present day. All we know is that in the future they're being rowdy, and that we've stopped them there, but we still need to see them appear, and they haven't yet.
Well, the question comes up, are the Infinite Dragonflight and Murozond part of the original timeline, or are they part of an alternative timeline?
Did they answer that?
Nope. At least I was reading Vooral the other day, Twilight Aspect of the Twilight, or Twilight of the Aspects, and Nosdormu himself said he was still researching if this was the true timeline or not. So that's still the question, but say that he is, then it's going to be very difficult to restore his aspect powers. I mean, It's the age of mortals now. Are you again going to turn back on your decision and reintroduce a character like you're going to do with Thrall, like you've done with Medivh transforming his powers to Medan? It's kind of iffy how you're going to do that. And even so, even if this was an alternative timeline, you would imagine Nosdormu losing his powers anyways, right?
Pretty much. How would they go about doing this? How would they go about, like, would they even need to restore his powers? Does he need? Well, I guess he does need his dragon powers.
He needs his powers over time, and then the question is how much control do they still have? And time again, we read that the dragons, their mission is done, right? They didn't even want to keep the Wormrest the core together. They're done with it all, and they don't really have a purpose in the world anymore. So I would imagine that his major powers are gone. And that's also part of the storyline on the Timeless Isle, where we need to collect those stones, right, from the creatures with essence of time in it. Because the guy on his own can't do this anymore. He can't summon up those visions to check out what exactly is going on. So that's where we come in. So I would say that he doesn't have enough power to become Murozond anymore.
Yeah, it was the old gods talking to him that led him to being the Infinite Dragonflight's leader, right?
They were at the source of everything, everything that bad that happened to the dragons, but they didn't explain the details of how he became Murozond. But old gods are involved, yeah.
Well, the way I see it, they're probably going to evolve Kairos' story over this expansion. It seems like he's very fertile soil to make him a major character, because as someone who kind of lost a good deal of his abilities, maybe kind of like the night elves, or maybe not that, but like elves when they have withdrawal from magic.
Yeah.
Uh, Maybe it's the same situation here. Maybe he wants to be able to have his powers back, and he'll do anything to get it. Um, and maybe sending us back to this alternate Draenor is the I don't know, ties into that somehow,
It's the way to do
uh,
it. Yeah.
and creates a new infinite dragonflight.
But it's
But
possible. Definitely
I mean,
possible. Yeah. Sorry. Go on.
um, yeah, there would need to be old god influence, and like if you have a look at the active ones on Azeroth, you got Enzoth, and I think you got like another mysterious one. I think that's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got the possibility for ones on Draenor, whether summoned or just already there. So like at the moment, it's too vague for me to speculate on whether or not there could be old god influence in a new Infinite Dragonflight story. But I don't know. It seems like it's a very fertile soil.
Definitely. And I mean, it's all speculation at this point. We don't know what's going on, but I speculated the way that they could restore the powers is one of the visions that we get from the Timeless Isle is where we see Nosdormu's mate die. Sori Dormi, I believe she's called. She dies, and Kairos is standing next to it like, oops, he's dead. What's going on here? And
Whoops, the knife fell out of my hand
Yeah.
and impaled her.
was it me? I'm sorry. And the way that I speculated it, and I'm trying to really think what I said in the video, it's in my time travel video, it's Sori Dormi often stepped up instead of Nosdormu, right? She was the one who did his things while he was lost in the time waves and whatnot. Next to her, we also see the hourglass of time that we see in the Caverns of Time. Perhaps Kairos wanted that power. Collect the sand from the hourglass of time, combine it with what he collected on the Timeless Isle. But Soridormi saw this, and she was like, what the hell are you doing? And he's like, oops, sorry, gotta kill you now. Chop. So she dies. That's Nosdormu's motivation to go crazy at some point. The old gods, weakness, you know. Like, she was his mate, you gotta get revenge on Kairos Dormu. But you need some way to get to Ironhorn Draenor, so we can offer you that power, but, you know, you gotta become the leader of the Infinite Dragonflight. Well, meanwhile, Kairos has the power to create his portal. For whatever reason, he's going to send Garrosh back. We're not even sure why. So yeah, that's a bit of speculation on how it possibly could play out, but it's so soon to tell what they're going to do.
Sounds like a pretty solid theory to me. The only reason I could see Kairos attacking Sori Dormi was because apparently, according to law, she still has a vial of eternity in her grasp.
Does she?
Yeah, she had one.
Oh, we took them
But
from Lady Vash and Kilfuss, and we turned them in over at her place, right?
she had, yeah. So I think she used both of those to, uh, I think it was like to create pathways to get to like Battle for Mount Hyjal. It was really weird. There's some weird explanation, but apparently in law she still has one. So I'm like, well, if she stole that, like at the time before we found out about Warlords, I'm like, maybe she stole it to resurrect like Illidan. When they said that they were thinking about originally having it so you go back to Alan and he resurrects, Garrosh resurrects these warlords, that I was thinking, you know, maybe they were just going to use the vial to do it. But yeah, your one sounds actually quite a lot more legit. Like having him kind of take care of the second in command to the Dragonflight so that he can kind of take over a little bit would make sense.
Yeah, but we'll have to see how that story continues. I'm very interested to find out why exactly Garrosh is getting this golden ticket to visit his past. What's their angle? Does Raffion have anything to do with it? Are they? I first thought that they were trying to change history so that they could prepare for the Burning Legion, but it's an alternative reality. So is this just to get some additional troops in, like duplicates and Draenei and Horde? Or orcs that they could bring from Ironhorn Draenor into our world? I mean, what's their motivation? What's their angle? And I can't wait to find out.
We could probably move on, but the thing is, your voice is very shaky on my end. I think my internet's slowing down for some reason.
Uh-oh.
Could you say something else?
Hello. This is my voice.
Yeah, it's being all gloopy. Is my voice fine?
Yeah.
Oh, that sounded fun. I don't know, maybe just keep going, but we'll have to make this the last one. It's obviously the last one, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, let's wrap this up then with the final question. Mr. DDGuides, say that you gain control over the direction of the story. Where would you take it?
Okay, well, I'm gonna leave it up to you to speculate on story ideas because the only thing I want to see is Queen Jara and obviously Burning Legion.
Mm-hmm.
Thing is, if I were to take over direction of the story, yeah, the very first thing is I would overhaul the story and how it's presented in game. Like they've got it so you got solo scenarios in say patch 5.2 where they tell a story that is timeless. So queue up for the scenario and you see how the Isle of Thunder progresses on a like as it goes.
Yeah.
Whereas back in something like the Isle of Quel'Danas patch in Burning Crusade, the hub would evolve even if like you're not there. So that if you came like a month late, it would all be unlocked and you don't get to see the story. So that works, right? But the way it is right now, a lot of people naturally skip quest text, and cinematics like sometimes convey stories that weren't established visually before. So I always look at the end cinematic for what do you call it, Cataclysm as a prime example. They didn't establish the dragon storyline to the point where it warranted the cinematic. It warranted a good story, but cinematic for Lich King it worked. For that situation, it did not. Now, the way they got to do this is they need to have more solo scenarios, but they need people to be able to catch up on the story really quick. If people are not reading the books, people still need to be able to get all the information from them. Even a lot of the minutia that may not be important is actually important later on. Because I mean, not as many people as you and I would like read books. I mean, I definitely would like to read more books, but it's very time consuming compared to other forms of media. So, like for instance, Garrosh Hellscream had a really good story, really really awesome. Thing is, if I speak to someone in real life and I say, "Have you seen that we're sieging Orgrimmar now?" And they say, what the hell's going on there? Who is this Garrosh dude? Like, I played Warcraft 3. I've dipped in and out of Warcraft. Like, who is this guy? Like, there's been no way for me to really get into the story unless I go onto Wowpedia and all that to look it up. So it's hard to keep up with. And there's no way for me to easily find this information for, like, the mainstream audience, the ones who don't do research.
In the case of Garrosh, I mean, you have to have played all the expansions starting from the Burning Crusade to really understand what he's been going through. But otherwise, indeed, you have to look it up. But with Garrosh, in my opinion, they actually placed the majority of the story in the game, which was pretty damn awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there were... how do I put this? The daily quest hubs, right? In patch 5.1, the landfall. That was a really cool idea to have story locked behind the daily quest chains. The problem there is a lot of people who don't want to do dailies do not see the story unfold. And they don't understand because it's not the kind of content that they want to do. Solo scenarios, right? They are like, in order to be able to do the content you want to do, first you have a look at the scenario, do a quick scenario to see the story, just you, no one else, no multiplayer stuff, in which case it's really confusing. Just you can see it, and that's all good. But yeah, as soon as you involve multiple people, it's a pain in the ass. So it needs to, like, I know there are, this is very difficult to explain. I know there are a lot of ways they've explained story in game and had it unfold. However, the mainstream audience, the ones who want story readily accessible, can't get into it. There is no way for them to click a button and see the story. And the problem there is that people don't understand the story because they're not doing research and stuff. And I don't know if I'm making sense, but...
Yeah, the way that I understand it, you would want to see the story more accessible to the masses instead of putting it in quest text, in hard-to-find places that you actually have to do certain content to find the story. You would want to see it available for everyone.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I do not want to see it hidden, but like in little areas. I want it to be just like you watch a patch trailer that explains in like 3 minutes what's going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
More of that in game where I can understand what is happening straight away without even needing to do any content. It's just I can click a button and see it, and from there I can enjoy the new content because I'm up to date. I'm up to speed in a very timely fashion.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not a bad idea. Although I have to admit, with Mr. Pandari, we talked about this earlier about how the questing experience was, how there were cinematics in every zone, and that I found the story to be told much better than in the past. Whereas to you, you were much more interested in reaching the end of the game and not so much interested about the quest and the story that was going on. I got that
Yeah, I
right,
mean,
right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. Every time a cinematic happens, I'm interested in the story. That's actually really, really intriguing stuff. Every time the game pauses and kind of says, just read this text that read these quote bubbles that these characters are saying. I will read it. When a quest text pops up, I just want the objective and just keep going about my day, right?
Right.
It's hidden in an area of the game I don't expect to find cool story, and that's a problem. Once they set it so that you can find these little cool areas of story in the game, right? You can keep that, but you also need the option for people to be able to see it really quick. Once
Right.
they figure that out, once they make it so that in Warcraft 3, you replay a mission, you get what, like 5 minutes of just pure story or just pure development, and then you can play your mission. It's separate, and people can easily see it. You just click any mission, you can see it. It's all one after the other, and it makes for a nice little narrative. But here, it's like all over the place, and it's like not very,
Yeah.
linear.
Well, once again, I have to say that Mr. Pandari really improved it. For example, if you move from the Jade Forest into the Valley of the Four Winds, you have like this escort quest from the Green Dragon, and she tells you, like, okay, my statue is blown up now, I'm screwed, but here you go, here's Chen Stormstout, who came from yada yada yada, go do your quest with him. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, there were a lot of elements in Pandaria that really worked. But I just hope they nail down the story. Once they do that, as I said, if I was to get control of the story, I would sort that out, make it really easy for people to get into the story, and then after that, I would focus on where to go. But how would you change? Where would you go with the story?
Well, the
It doesn't.
technic.
Sorry, let me just interrupt. It doesn't have to be what I said. Like you don't have to change how the story's told. Like if you just want to talk about an expansion or something, like speculate.
Well, the technical side, I would. I love your idea of making the story more available for everyone, and I would move more of the story from the books into the game. I don't think
Yeah.
that the books should be a necessity. They should be complementing
Yeah.
the story, not explaining the story.
Totally.
And direction of the story, where would I like to take it? Well, it's easier if you talk about individual characters, but yeah, I would like to see Enduin grow up for a change. I would like to see Jaina pushed even further into her hatred towards the rest of the world. I would see Sylvanas' story finally done. She's been doing bad stuff for way too long and nobody's doing anything about it. I would love to see that. I would love to see Thrall getting spanked for what he's done because he left Jaina out in the cold. Like, what the hell, man? She did everything for you, and you're like, oh, I've got a new mission now, Jaina, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's your problem, man. You placed Garrosh in that seat. What are you doing? Of course it's your problem. But most of all, in the general sense of the story, I would like to see less humans and orcs and more everything else. Give other races some story, for God's sake.
Totally, absolutely. I mean, think about something like gnomes. Gnomes have gone nowhere. They can't even take the damn city back.
Yes.
Come on, it's been like 10 years. Like, hurry up.
And whenever they give a story to the other races, it's either to complement the orcs or the humans. With the exception of not the Dark Heart of Panaria, the Snow scenario with Moira and Varian, where he for once just stepped away and let Moira do her thing. More of that. Let them all be individuals. Let them have their own story, their own internal struggles, and not just follow Wonderboy Thrall or Wonderboy Varian around. That would be so much better.
Yeah, because I think about the Tauren story. I really want to see more Tauren, not just like a cool Tauren figure. Like I think it was Sunwalker something.
That's cool,
I
yeah.
forget his name. Yeah, so he's cool, but you don't really see the Tauren people. Like you just see like one cool character that represents the rest of the race. Like that's kind of crap. Like I want to see their society advance, and I don't really see that past like the starting zone, which is a shame. Like you see it on occasion, you see like a little town in some zones, but yeah, yeah, totally. I totally agree.
And especially with, for example, that's just, they drop the ball so many times that they give such a cool introduction story. For example, the goblins, who were actually slaves, and their ship crashed and they had to save Thrall, which was awesome introduction. And what happens after that? Their prince isn't even in the game. I mean,
Yeah.
what the hell? Same with
His
Pandora.
face is in the mountain, and like
Yeah.
you never see him in game.
He's not there.
Yeah.
He's actually, I was making a video about the goblins and about that leader. I couldn't find him because they didn't put him in the game. What are you doing, man? He's a leader.
Yeah, sometimes they make such cool art for the starting zones, and then they just don't use it again. Like they're always focused on making really cool new art for every new expansion and new areas and all this. But a lot of the time, it's like I want to see more of those racetracks that were in like the Goblin starting zones in just
Yeah.
other zones. That'd be cool. Stuff like that. I want to see more of that and more landscapes like Mulgore.
Yes. Well, they did place the racetracks in Azora, I believe.
Yeah, yeah,
Just not a car
yeah,
to
in
race
like
with.
future things, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of
Like,
cool.
like if we go to Draenor, um, I just want to see a zone where the Horde and Alliance have just completely taken over from the Horde of that era. They just put all their shit there. They've just got goblins and gnomes just building all kinds of statues and crap, and it'll look so cool. It'll be like a modernized old Draenor.
Like, this is our area now. Fuck off, bitches.
Yep. Yep.
But that could be cool with the garrisons. I mean, their own specific theme.
Mm.
The question was actually asked: are they going to get the general Orc Alliance theme or Horde Alliance theme? I'm sorry. I'm now confusing the Horde with the Orcs. See what you've done to me, Blizzard. Anyways, are they just going to get that theme or individual race theme? And I would love to see that, like a troll garrison, like a
Troll
troll
theme.
garrison. Jesus Christ! It's
So
getting
basically, the
late.
garrison is just you shooting dragon souls all over the place, and wearing robes and.
And everybody worships me and like, you're the world shaman now. We dragons just bow down.
I need a thrall garrison right now in the game.
Brilliant.
Yeah, yeah, but totally. If you have individual race-themed garrisons, that would work. You just use the art you've already got.
Yeah.
Don't create all new art. Don't waste the hours and days just making new art. Just use a lot of your old existing stuff. Just in the new environment. That sounds pretty cool to me.
Mm-hmm. So, direction of the story. Anywhere you want to take it? That you say, Lan, that I really want to see in the story.
Just give me a jar in South Seas, like right now.
And yeah, you're satisfied.
Sorry?
And with that, you're satisfied. Queen Azora, South Seas,
Yes.
Isle of Tel Aviv with the bananas.
Yes, give me the monkeys. Yes, totally. And they need to overhaul the water areas, the water zones. Like I reckon maybe they were thinking about making Zangar a new zone, but nobody. Well, I say nobody liked. What's it called? Val. Sorry, but what is that zone called?
Fashir, it was called. Yes.
Is that- yeah, so they saw people didn't really like Vigia that much, so like, okay, maybe we shouldn't do that. I reckon that's why they didn't do a Dark Below expansion, because it's like, if we can't get the water mechanics right, then we're not going to base whole expansion around it.
Yeah.
There was someone on the MMO Champion forums that suggested that instead of an underwater expansion, you make it underground, and you can ride mounts on the walls and stuff. It sounded really cool.
That's an interesting idea, but I mean, it doesn't all have to be underwater. You could also use the islands that are scattered around, like Kaltras, Tel Aviv. There's a pirate island, you know? There's ships that you could use, like open sea battlegrounds with your own ship that you can blow everybody up.
Yep.
I would love
Yep,
to see that kind of stuff.
Ship-themed garrisons.
Ship-themed garrisons that you can upgrade them and you can steal each other's booty and then you can use that booty to buy new stuff.
Like a new resource, oil, and we're all just going around collecting oil and using it to buy gear.
Yep, awesome. Oh, yeah. But we have to wait first for Worlds of Draenor and then see where they're going to take it.
Yep.
So, I think we're done with the questions, Mr. DD Guys.
Totally. Been about 2 hours.
Well, that's 1 hour under the planned time. I mean, that's better. It's getting better.
Yeah, it's like midnight. Well, it's past midnight for me, and the call is kind of being shaky. I had this thing pop up that says the call quality has dropped below 10 times minimum. Like, ooh, so.
Oh boy. Then we're going to wrap this one up, and I think also the limit is like 2 hours or something that you can call each other.
Is it? Really?
There is a limit on it, I know that for sure. I just don't know how long it is.
Oh, limit. Okay. Well, wouldn't you just like hang up and then call again?
Yeah, of course, but they would just disconnect the call that you're having. That kind of sucks.
That's ridiculous. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So, Mr. DDGuides, thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, it was a really cool conversation.
And guys, if you want, in the description, like every other video, there are links there. You can check out videos. DD is currently unboxing things. That's really cool to see.
Yeah. I'm actually overhauling my channel to just be unboxing. I'm going to get boxes delivered with nothing in them.
With nothing in them. Surprise!
And then ad revenue, I'll buy more boxes.
That's horrible, you money grabber. Oh boy. Well, I'm going to end this call, mates. Thank you so much.
Okay. Yep, good talk.
Good talk. Good talk.
Indeed.